Welcome to Man Up Monday, the show where men sit around talking about man stuff.
Ladies, this one's not for you. Get your husbands, get your dads, get them to tune in.
No girls allowed.
LT46.
So here we are on this Man Up Monday, 6 days before Mother's Day.
In case you didn't know, the kids will not be bringing home crafts from school this year for Mother's Day gifts.
This is your warning.
So, men, it's kind of up to you to get that one taken care of, FYI.
Unless they do crafts at homeschool.
Men, you should probably step up to that.
You might need to go shopping.
Yeah, I don't know.
Get your Amazon Prime orders in.
So Amazon Prime, unless it's essential material, they're not going to get it to you by next weekend.
Yeah, sorry, you're screwed. You gotta go.
And they probably don't have Mother's Day gifts at
Menards.
Bumgars or Menards. I mean, depending on your mother or your wife. So, not to be gender biased.
Haven't seen too many flowers at Hy-Vee.
I did, actually, but
I wasn't there today.
different story. So, well, weather keeps getting nicer. The sun is shining. Birds are chirping. Flowers are blooming.
Lawns a mowing.
Dandelions galore here as we look out this afternoon. So, directive health measures continue. We got another month of this to go on with a lot of our social distancing and all the isolation that goes with that. I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody who's really enjoying this or having fun with all of the isolation, social distance. I was just telling my wife yesterday, I remember like a couple of years ago just saying, I need a day just to not have to go outside. And, you know, sometimes God finally answers the prayer.
And you've had, 6 weeks now?
Like, that's the kind of days we're having now, right? And, I remember the kids you and me that way sometimes. Like, I just wish we didn't have anything to do. Never going to wish for that again. Well, they probably will. But hope we're all doing okay and coping with all that and getting all the lawn work done and those honey-do lists and chores. So today, we're going to talk a little more about life as men of God. And with that, we're going to talk about mistakes. Because mistakes, I've made a few.
They happen.
I was going for a song quote there. Lyrics. Mistakes. What's that song? Queen.
And bad mistakes, I've made a few. And so on and so forth.
Which song is that?
On, and on. We
are the champions. My friend. Anyway, so making any mistakes recently, Stephen?
Define mistake.
My wife says I have.
Errors. Forgetfulness.
Forgetfulness is a mistake.
Can be, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to hold it against you, but I'm going to bring it up.
I forgot to bring home dinner the other night after my wife asked me to. Boy, was that a mistake. Didn't hear the end of that.
There we go. Nate Venter is not the perfect husband.
No.
Whatever they said on Ladies' Night on Thursday.
I can be given a grocery list of 10 things and go through that list one by one and make sure everything's in the cart, and I will still forget something. I am king of that.
I'm king of not finding things right in front of my face.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Then my wife goes to the closet and was like, "It was right here. It probably hit you in the face."
Yeah. We placed a grocery order, picked up groceries today, and one of the things that I insist to get on the list, we now have 2 very large gallons of distilled vinegar.
Oh, wonderful.
It's a good cleaning agent.
That's what I hear.
Make pickles one day, I'm
I may have to use it more.
I done did mess up. AA Ron. Today is not the day to talk about mistakes. Today, as in Monday, which is definitely not Sunday. Here's a fly, I'm sorry. Today is Monday and definitely not Sunday, the day where worship was posted. Where definitely I forgot to make a specific...
So I gotta tell you a story. we prepared worship this week for our congregation, and Stephen and I worked together on that quite a bit. I'm sure you can assume and guess. And I sent a video clip over, say, hey, put this in the sermon. We're going to have that at the beginning of the sermon this week. And when we're recording the service, I introduced the video clip, and I waited for it to play, and it didn't play. And then Stephen said, I'll just piece it in later in editing. I said, no problem, it'll be great. And then this morning, sat down with my family to watch worship, as did 153 other people.
113.
Sunday morning, 113 other people. And as the sermon starts, hey, let's watch this video. And I stood there like an idiot for 45 seconds.
It was about 8.
And the video clip did not play. Now, I am relieved to report that Stephen realized that, and he worked on it tirelessly to fix the problem. But I wasn't going to text him and say anything about it until he did. So he has owned up to that mistake. And that is why we're talking about this today. One of the hardest things for men to do, admit we're wrong when we're wrong. Admit our mistakes. I'm perfect. Anybody else?
I do not fail.
I have not made a mistake.
I don't lose.
I've already admitted to a couple, so
We're going to edit those out. I don't know what it is about. Why is it that we have such a hard time admitting when we're wrong?
Cassie never lets me hear the end of it.
No, we can't blame our wives.
Just kidding. Just kidding. I thought we were all fair there.
Why is it we can't accept when we make a mistake?
I mean, I think it goes back to same thing as was that last week. We were talking about not being able to lose. Making a mistake is losing. It goes back to pride. I don't know.
I'd say self-imposed expectations. Self-imposed expectations meaning I am in charge of my life. I can control my life.
Male idiot superhero syndrome.
Male idiot superhero. What does that mean?
So it leads us to those conclusions like, if you have the mattress on top of the car and you strap it down, but you still hold it on there just in case the straps break.
Oh, yes.
As if the force breaking the straps, you were able to overcome that. But I also think it's just that fallacy that we're superheroes. We are able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. We are kind of trained from infancy as men. So that's what it means to be a man. You don't ever lose. You don't ever make a mistake. You're trained. We're trained to be perfect, kind of everything that we do. It's not manly to fail.
Well, I think it comes with that too. Being the leader of your family, comes with a sense of pressure. And as a leader, you don't want to be wrong or show weakness. You want to be that rock.
I know one of the toughest lessons I've learned as a sports official, and so I referee football and basketball, and I've done every sport but ice hockey, I think, at some point in time. And one of the biggest lessons to learn is the best officials are the ones who admit when they make mistakes. And I can tell you, the first half of my officiating career, I was the kind of official that quote-unquote didn't make mistakes. And I remember talking to coaches, and they know, you're the idiot, I'm not. Even if I know in the back of my head I blew a call, I was never going to admit it. And the biggest lesson I learned was that transition time when if you admit you're wrong, the good coaches accept that. Because they also know they've made mistakes as coaches and their players make mistakes. And they're willing to grant you that grace when you admit you've made a mistake. The ones, and coaches will tell you they hate the officials who don't think it's possible for them to make mistakes. And I'll tell you, I hate working with officials who don't think they can make mistakes. So that's a lesson I learned in that avocation of mine, but it has not yet applied to my life at home. I have a hard time telling my kids, hey, Dad messed up. and telling my wife, "Hey, Dad, your husband messed up," because I can't diminish my image in their eyes.
So what good can come from admitting your mistakes?
Well, you learn from your mistakes. At least you should.
Well, you learn from your mistakes, yes, but admitting your mistakes, they're two separate things. This morning I learned that I need to either edit the video right away or write down what the special thing is supposed to be.
Yeah, and so see,
It's very easy to know what I've learned.
Since you've
It's very difficult to admit, and not even admit to other people, admit to myself that I have messed up.
Since you've
swallow that without messing up my entire day.
Since you've admitted and accepted your mistake, you can now learn from your mistake.
And I think it helps the whole act of confession, and not like with a priest in a box, but
Just a pastor on a cell phone.
but even just acknowledging out loud, your quote unquote transgression, your mistake. I think it helps with our humility. It helps with and it just helps us be human. I mean, so like training up a son to be a man, and me hiding from my mistakes. What is that teaching him? Well, that's teaching him if you're not perfect, you're not a man, and he's not perfect, nor will he ever be. How do I know that? Because he's my son. And worse than that, like he knows I'm not perfect, and so I can either perpetuate the myth of my imperfection so that he never learns to confess and never learns to admit he's possibly made a mistake. He just grows in arrogance and everything else, and so that his future wife has to kind of beat him into submission with arrogance or humility. And if he ever finds one, because he doesn't have any of that stuff, where I can show him, a model for him that like I've made a mistake. So I think times in our house when I've lost my temper, and I do. I have Italian grandparents. Okay, I've got a temper. I know I don't look Italian, but Italian grandparents. And like when I lose my temper, the kids are like. But I got to be able to admit, that was not the best way to handle that situation. And because they watch me struggle with that, they're struggling with it too. And so it's done, it's over. I can't go back and lose my temper. I can't go back and unyell at the kids. I can't go back and unscramble the eggs. I can't go back and, redo whatever mistake or forgetful thing that happened. All I can do is fix it, make amends for it, apologize for it, and demonstrate what sorrow and contrition, repentance, and then forgiveness look like.
And that sucks.
But it was well said.
I mean, you think of Peter and Jesus at the Sea of Galilee after the resurrection. I mean, Jesus told Peter, "You're going to deny me." Never will I deny you. And then 3 times, before the cock crows, and Peter does it 3 times. He just looks at him right in the face, and Peter had to go, "Oh crap!"
Oh, crap, Jesus.
And then Jesus even tells the disciples and Peter, who, because of his disobedience, is now not to be considered among the disciples. That's got to hurt when he hears them say, "Jesus said to tell the disciples, and you, Peter." I'm like, "What, another disciple?" "Yeah, you're not anymore because you denied him 3 times. And I will see them in Galilee." And he gets to Galilee and he asks him 3 times, "Peter, do you love me?" "Yes." "Peter, do you love me?" "Yes." "Peter, do you love me?" And how Peter is heartbroken about it. But it's not easy to own up to that mistake. But, that's how, it sucks. It does. It's never easy. It's never fun to come to terms with humanity. But I think that the difference is, the difference between Peter and Judas. Peter ends up proclaiming the gospel on Pentecost, and the church grows by 3,000 plus. Judas hangs himself, and I wonder if some of the difference is how they handle their mistake. Getting philosophical from them.
Well said. So how are you going to handle your mistakes?
I keep making them, despite my desire not to.
It's inevitable. Like, we're going to mess up.
But
Then our whole Sunday is going to be ruined. There's a cardinal.
That's
Whole
not a
Sunday is going to be
cardinal.
ruined.
Get out of here.
It's a female cardinal, you jerk. There he goes.
here comes the guy friend.
So the whole Sunday is going to be ruined after you make a silly mistake on a video editing clip.
Or you could do like me and you just make a mistake, move on with life. Don't let it bother you.
All I can do
Okay.
when I make a mistake, say I'm sorry. I've made amends for best I can. I think back to one of my most disappointing moments in childhood. I had grown these sunflowers out in front of our house. I planted them in March, April, whatever planting time was. I don't know. And they grew. They were big, beautiful plants. And I hate to say I loved those sunflowers, but I did. And I left a truck out in the hall in the living room floor. My mom tripped over it, and my dad kind of lost his temper, lost his cool, and chopped down my sunflowers. Now, I deserved it. I left my truck out. I think my dad's reaction kind of over the top. I think I try to avoid that now as a father. And when I have chopped down the sunflowers, when I've gone too far, I want to stop perpetuating that. And so I try to avoid the mistake when I make it, try to own up to it, and tell my son especially, but tell my family, tell my kids, that wasn't the right way to handle this.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing for me. Every time you make a mistake and try to cover it up or anything, it just compounds. And whereas if you just say, hey, I'm sorry, made a mistake, and try not to get angry and try not to let it affect other people. At the end of the day, yeah, it really sucks, but in the long run, it makes the whole process a lot better, and you're not really affecting yourself, and honestly, it's easier to get over. Like, it's easier to look past messing up the church service if you just apologize and move on with life. Not to look at any specific examples, but yeah, for real though, just moving on with life and not dwelling on a mistake goes a long way towards, I guess, recovery. So that's what I try to do. Just not dwell on it, because life goes on.
Yeah. That leads right in. There's another expression we use in officiating. I don't talk about that too much, but you're only as good as your next call.
Mm-hmm.
And I think back to my first year of doing varsity college football games. It was the last game of that year, and the opening kickoff, and watching it on video, it's painful to watch. There's an obvious late hit out of bounds on my sideline, right in front of me, my call, and I slept through it. I don't know how I missed it. And I remember the next 6 snaps beating myself up for it, so much to the point where I almost missed a false start.
Yep.
If that had been affecting me the entire game, it would have been an awful, terrible game. But eventually, you have to be able to say, yeah, I blew that one. I'm not going to blow the next one.
Yep.
And I think ultimately, as we learn from our mistakes and we address them, it's to put them behind us.
Yep.
So they don't ruin your whole Sunday.
It's a lot easier to admit to one mistake than it is to admit to the 6 mistakes that have compounded over the course of the day.
Amen. Which is my way of saying well said.
Yep. Lawnmower. Would you like to participate in the conversation?
Say something. Anything.
If the lawnmower could say something, it would reference a movie of my childhood. It's in the past. Yes, the past may hurt. Or whatever Rafiki said in The Lion King.
Oh, that's when he knocks him in the head with a stick.
Yes. Ow! Why did you do that? Who cares? It's in the past. Yeah, but it still hurts. Gentlemen, mistakes are tough. They suck. I hate it. I'm sure you hate it. We talked about it.
And other things.
And a lot of other things.
Who knows what you're actually going to hear right now?
What are you actually going to watch? We'll find out.
We're not sure where the edits are going to
I'm just trying to wrap it up right now. So as we get ready for Mother's Day,
Don't make another.
don't make another mistake.
Don't forget
Get your
Mother's
wife
Day.
a present
I got to tell you,
before Sunday.
I got to tell you my biggest Mother's Day mistake in the history of Mother's Day mistakes. Sorry. First Mother's Day after our oldest child was born, and we were living in St. Louis, and church is over on Sunday, and we're driving around, like, where do you want to eat at for dinner, honey? What do you want to do? And we didn't have an answer for a while, and we turned onto one road that led to our apartment building, and there were 2 places left from that road, and I said the quote, and it's still painful to this day, you can go anywhere you want to go as long as it's Subway or Hardee's, because those are the 2 places left on the road, and I have still heard about it to this day because I did not let my loving and adoring and beautiful and amazing wife and mother of my children have more of a say in her first official Mother's Day. So don't do that. Don't say go anywhere you want as long as it's Subway. Not that we don't love our Subway.
Go wherever you want, just make sure you can
Get takeout.
Yeah, you gotta get takeout. Because Madison County is shut down for another month.
Sorry. Mother's Day.
That's it? I don't know. Yeah, don't make a mistake on Mother's Day. Or
Make up for it in spectacular fashion.
don't make any of us look good. Or
I live 12 hours from my mother and like 15 hours from my mother-in-law, so
you're getting a Mother's Day present for your dog.
you know what? I could. But let's be real. My
Or
wife probably will.
Men be men. Don't be superheroes. It's hard to leap tall buildings. Hard to be perfect. Be men, and as men of God, that means letting God be perfect and admitting our mistakes, letting Him and others know we're sorry, know we have repented, and for us to know and be confident that we are forgiven and free, no matter the mistakes and the heaping pile of guilt we earn or deserve. We are free. That's all
Amen.
That's all I got, guys.
Well said. Made better.
See you on Mother's Day. Or Monday. Mother's Monday. See
See you
on,
next week.
See you whatever. The next, yeah.
Next time we man up.
We'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Now that my wife has made me sound like an awful human being,
No, Nate, we already discussed. You're the one who's
let's tell you how it really went.
husband of the year.
How was I husband of the year?
Because you've only been married for 2. That's why.
You've only been married for 2 and you follow her around and do what she asks.
Wait, whose laugh is it? Palpatine or Ricketts? Ready?
And welcome to Man Up Monday.
Dude, are you okay?